Every dungeon master knows the absolute headache of dealing with a careless adventuring party. You know the type. They treat the living, breathing world of your campaign like a video game without consequences. The rogue stabs a friendly tavern keeper for charging a few extra copper for ale. The fighter assassinates a rival merchant in an alleyway to steal his gold. The party hastily hides the body, wipes the blood off their boots, and rides off into the sunset to find their next quest, assuming the problem is permanently solved. But in Dungeons & Dragons, death is rarely the end of the story. If you murder the wrong person, someone whose will is forged from pure iron, the universe has a very specific, very terrifying way of balancing the scales. Enter the Revenant. Forget the mindless, shuffling zombies of classic fantasy. Forget the aristocratic, bloodthirsty vampires. The Revenant is not a monster born from a dark necromancer's ritual, a biological curse, or a tragic accident. It is born from pure, unadulterated, blinding hatred. It is tabletop gaming's ultimate slasher villain, a relentless, undead Terminator that will not stop, will not sleep, and simply cannot be killed until its thirst for vengeance is drowned in blood. To understand the terror of the Revenant, we have to look at how they are created. A Revenant rises when a mortal soul suffers a death so cruel, so agonizing, or so profoundly unjust that the soul flat out rejects the laws of the universe. When the gods of death come to collect them, the soul refuses to cross over into the afterlife. The sheer gravity of their spite anchors them to the material plane. Within days of their murder, the soul forces its way back down into its own rotting corpse. It doesn't come back as a brainless ghoul acting on base instincts. A Revenant retains all of its memories, its human intelligence, its ability to speak, and its martial skills from its past life. It remembers exactly who it was, exactly who it loved, and most importantly, it remembers the face of the one who killed it. When a Revenant stands up, its body is horrifying to look upon. It bears the gruesome, unhealed wounds of its execution, a throat slit ear to ear, a crushed skull, or a chest cavity completely hollowed out by a fireball. But the eyes are the true giveaway. The eyes of a Revenant burn with a piercing, unnatural glare. It is the visual manifestation of the inferno of rage keeping the rotting meat on its bones moving. Once the Revenant is awake, the hunt begins. And there is absolutely nowhere in the multiverse for the guilty party to hide. Revenants possess a supernatural, radar-like sense of their murderer's exact location. It doesn't matter if the players cross oceans, teleport to the other side of the continent, or hide out in a magically warded fortress deep in the Underdark. The Revenant knows the exact distance and direction to its target at all times. You cannot trick them with disguises. You cannot fool them with illusions. You cannot reason with them, bribe them, or intimidate them. Because a Revenant is undead, it doesn't need to eat, drink, or breathe. This means it doesn't need to stop. While the adventuring party is setting up camp, cooking dinner, sleeping, and recovering their spell slots, the Revenant is simply walking. Step by rotting step, closing the distance in the dark. If the players take a boat across the sea, the Revenant doesn't need to buy a ticket. It will simply walk into the ocean and march across the lightless bottom of the seafloor for months until it reaches the other side. When the Revenant finally catches up to its prey, it brings a terrifying suite of abilities. The most iconic is its vengeful glare. When the Revenant locks eyes with its murderer, it forces them to confront the sheer, suffocating weight of their sins. If the player fails their saving throw, they are instantly paralyzed by overwhelming fear, frozen in place while the corpse of their victim slowly walks toward them with a drawn blade. Furthermore, the Revenant regenerates health every single turn, shrugging off sword strikes and arrow wounds like they are nothing. But let's say the players manage to win. They set a clever ambush, unload their most powerful spells, and manage to decapitate the Revenant, burning its physical body to ash. They celebrate in the tavern, thinking the nightmare is over. They are wrong. When you destroy the physical body of a Revenant, the soul doesn't die. It simply leaves the destroyed vessel, floats away into the ether, and finds a completely new, freshly dead corpse somewhere in the surrounding area. It possesses this new body, stands back up, and resumes the hunt. The players could kill the Revenant on a Tuesday, only to be attacked on Thursday by a completely different-looking zombie that speaks with the exact same voice, demanding their blood. The Revenant will continue to body hop, over and over, until one of two things happens: either it successfully butchers the person who wronged it, or exactly 1 full year passes. If the target manages to survive for 365 days of constant paranoia and pursuit, the magic sustaining the Revenant burns out, and its soul finally crumbles to dust. For a dungeon master, the Revenant is the ultimate storytelling tool to enforce consequences and build slow burn, agonizing paranoia, the paranoia trap. Because a Revenant can possess any corpse, the players can never trust a dead body again. Walking through an ancient battlefield, investigating a crypt, or even walking past a graveyard becomes a terrifying ordeal. Any one of those corpses could suddenly stand up, turn its glowing eyes to the party, and say, "I finally found you." The psychological warfare. Revenants are intelligent. They don't just attack blindly. Have the Revenant sabotage the party. It can warn dungeon bosses that the players are coming, slaughter the party's horses in the middle of the night so they can't run, or stand in the center of town shouting the party's darkest secrets to the local guards. The unkillable alliance. If you want a brilliant plot twist, have the Revenant hunt the party, but realize they share a mutual enemy. Perhaps the tyrant king who ordered the players to kill the innocent victim is the true target. The players might be forced into an incredibly tense, temporary alliance with a monster that desperately wants to kill them, just to defeat a greater evil. The Revenant isn't just a monster. It is the ghost of the player's own hubris. It is a walking, rotting reminder that in the world of Dungeons & Dragons, your past is always right behind you. I want to hear from you. Have your players ever been hunted by a Revenant, or have you ever had to face one yourself? Let me know your best tabletop horror stories down in the comments below. Until next time, may your dice roll high, and your players never sleep soundly. See you in the next one.